Humans are too fragile to survive space combat, yet one janitor disagreed. Kieran brushed crumbs off the alien-sized tables as the cafeteria emptied out. The academy wasn't meant for humans, not really, but Earth's representatives had managed to secure a token presence in the sprawling interstellar institution. Mostly that meant translators, aides, and janitors like him, assigned to tidy up after students who towered over him and spoke in clicks, growls, and harmonies. He didn't mind. He kept his head down, did his kuamato, and listened to the humming of languages no human tongue could copy. The aliens called him surface-born in hushed tones, not realizing he understood their slang. To them, a human was a curiosity at best, an inferior servant at worst. Yet each night Kieran lingered after his shift, sweeping the mess hall floor, while gazing toward the holographic combat simulators flickering in the training dome nearby. That was where the real cadets spent their time, learning to wield energy blades, practicing squad maneuvers against swarms of simulated invaders, and laughing with each other in the glowing light of victory. Kieran felt something tighten in his chest each time he saw it, as if some part of him whispered he wasn't supposed to stay on the sidelines. One night after the last tray was stacked and the lights dimmed, he slipped into the simulator room. His mop clattered softly as he set it aside. The interface recognized him as an unauthorized user but failed to lock him out. No one had expected a janitor to even try. He selected a random scenario, grabbed the practice staff leaning against the wall, and stepped inside. Suddenly, the dome was alive with enemies, insectoid drones screeching through the air, glowing mandibles ready to strike. He ducked, rolled, and swung wildly. He had no training, only instincts from countless hours watching others. Yet something strange happened. Each time he swung, the staff connected perfectly. Each time he moved, it was just fast enough to evade the strike. He laughed nervously as the simulation declared victory. He had won, accidentally, or maybe not. The next evening he returned. He played again. He won again. Soon it wasn't luck. He learned to anticipate, to feint, to adapt. He realized what the aliens didn't. Humans weren't built for raw power, but for surprise, improvisation, and chaos. The system kept logs, though Kieran didn't know it. His victories flagged anomalies in the training database. And within a week, the Academy's instructors were whispering about impossible results from a human janitor ID. Eventually, an instructor named Vayrak confronted him. The towering reptilian officer crossed his arms, scales glinting under the neon lights. "Surface-born," Vayrak hissed. "What trick is this?" Kieran stammered, clutching the mop as if it were a shield. "I was just cleaning and the simulator was open." "I didn't mean you destroyed a Class 7 swarm simulation in record time." Vayrak's golden eyes narrowed. "Do it again." He dragged Ahiran into the dome, summoned the swarm, and folded his arms. Kieran hesitated, then picked up the staff. The swarm descended, and once more he tore through it, not with elegance, but with messy, unpredictable movements. He tripped, swung wildly, kicked off a wall, and laughed as the drones collapsed around him. When the program ended, silence filled the dome. The instructor's jaw worked silently. "Impossible," Vayrak muttered. You fight like entropy itself." The very next day, the Academy Hall buzzed with gossip. A human janitor, an Earthborn nobody, had been summoned to join the cadet trials. Aliens of every shape and size crowded to watch. Many expected him to be humiliated, crushed by opponents bred for combat. Instead, he shocked them. The trial began with a duel against a hulking Trogar warrior, 4 arms swinging twin blades. Kieran had no armor, no grand training. He ducked, slipped, and jabbed with his staff like he was cleaning under tables. The crowd roared with laughter at first, until the Trogar stumbled back, disarmed, his weapon skittering across the floor. Silence followed. Kieran blinked, panting, hardly believing it himself. The referee declared him victor. The cafeteria janitor had beaten a cadet. Whispers turned into shouts. "How? A human? Surface-born trickster." They threw him into more matches. A duel with a chittering insectoid that spat acid. A spar against a scaled beast that could cloak itself. Again and again he found a way through. Improvised moves, awkward timing, sudden bursts of creativity. What others thought were mistakes turned into victories. He had never trained formally, yet he kept winning. By the time the trials ended, Kieran was no longer a janitor. He stood among the new cadets, wide-eyed, mop replaced with a training spear. Lians gaped at him from the sidelines with guns. No one understood how a human had clawed their way up. The Academy had witnessed something it had never expected, and for the first time whispers turned not to insults, but to awe. The Academy's war dome shook as the klaxons blared, summoning cadets to their stations. A real threat had arrived, not a simulation. The Ilkran Armada, massive insectoid conquerors who had crushed entire star systems, had come to test the Academy's defenses. For the cadets, it was terrifying. For Kieran, the janitor turned cadet, it was a chance to prove once and for all that humanity's so-called weakness was its greatest strength. The dome shimmered as the shields fell, exposing the battlefield simulation chamber that had been reconfigured into an actual war command hub. Alien instructors barked orders in their native tongues while towering cadets strapped on exo-armor and powered up plasma weapons. Kieran stood among them in a borrowed suit that barely fit, clutching his familiar staff. Whispers rippled through the crowd. The human will be the first to fall. Surface-born cannot face the Ilkran, but the instructors had seen his strange victories, and desperation demanded every fighter they could muster. The battle began when the first Ilkran war beast crashed through the Academy's defensive wall. Its armored carapace gleamed, mandibles snapping with a sound like tearing metal. Several cadets charged it, their energy blades carving sparks against its hide. But the beast threw them aside effortlessly. In the chaos, Kieran darted forward. He looked small, fragile, absurd with nothing but a reinforced staff in his hands. The aliens gasped as he leapt onto the beast's back, striking again and again, not where its armor was thickest, but at the seams where plates overlapped. Improvised, messy, human. The monster shrieked as his plates split apart, and when Kieran jammed his staff deep into the exposed gap, the beast collapsed with a thunderous crash. Silence fell. Then cheers erupted from the cadets who moments before had doubted him. The battle only grew fiercer. Wave after wave of Ilkran drones poured into the Academy halls, flooding the corridors with acid spit and slicing limbs. Alien cadets formed tight squads, but the precision strategies they drilled for years began to crumble under the sheer unpredictability of the enemy. That was when Kieran's strength shone. Where the others faltered, he thrived. He darted between collapsing formations, yelling ideas that made no sense until they worked. "Throw your shields in the air," he shouted, and when they did, the drones slammed into the wall of hovering shields and shattered. "Bait them through the kitchen," he cried, leading an entire swarm into the Academy's cafeteria, where he set the ovens to overheat and triggered a chain of explosions that consumed the attackers. Alien commanders were left dumbfounded. They had never seen someone fight with such chaos, such reckless creativity. And yet, against all odds, it worked. Soon the cadets were following his lead, not their instructors. Kieran, the janitor, became the heartbeat of the defense. The peak of the battle came when the Ilkran warlord itself descended into the dome. Twice the size of any beast, its wings unfurled like burning banners, and its roar silenced even the bravest. It mocked the Academy in a voice like grinding stone. "You send a human to face me? I will crush your fragile species as easily as I crush your floors." Kieran gripped his staff tighter and stepped forward alone. Aliens tried to hold him back, but he shook them off. He remembered all the times he mopped the floor unnoticed, all the laughs behind his back, all the times they called him lesser. And then he smiled. The warlord lunged, its claws shattering the tiles. Kieran dodged, rolled, and leapt onto its arm. Every move was imperfect, messy, but every imperfection forced the warlord to misstep. The crowd watched in disbelief as the human clung to its chest, smashing his staff again and again and into the glowing nodes that powered its bioarmor. Sparks flew, the warlord roared. Then, with a final desperate shove, Kieran jammed the staff into the creature's throat, twisting as its scream shook the dome. The warlord collapsed, its body trembling, before crashing lifeless onto the Academy floor. For a moment, there was silence. Then the dome shook with the sound of cadets cheering, alien voices raised in awe, some even chanting his name. The Okran fled in panic, their armies broken by the impossible sight of a human defeating their strongest. The academy had been saved. In the aftermath, Kieran stood on the fractured floor, exhausted, sweat dripping down his brow. He looked around at the towering cadets, their shining eyes locked on him. For the first time, he wasn't invisible. He wasn't a janitor. He was a cadet, a warrior, and something more, a reminder that humans had a place among the stars. He dropped the staff, raised his hands awkwardly, and muttered, "So, who's cleaning this mess up?" The aliens burst into laughter, tension broken. In that laughter, Kieran knew he had found his place. The story ends here with Kieran standing among his peers, no longer overlooked, but celebrated as the human who taught an alien academy that sometimes the smallest, strangest fighter could change the course of war forever. Did you like today's story? Then catch our posts at 3 p.m. Eastern Time daily. Unfold more intergalactic stories with Professor Space.